Okay, so good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the next of our PA Forum in conversation with events. I am delighted today to welcome the wonderful Amanda Hargreaves, who is one of the co-founders of the Manchester PA Network. For those of you who might not have had the opportunity to meet Amanda before, I personally met Amanda many, many years ago as we attended the Manchester PA Awards. I know Tracy's on this call today who came along to the awards as well. So lovely to see you. And it was one of the best nights I think I've ever had. It was absolutely fantastic. And as a network leader, as a fellow network leader, I've been dying to spend some time with Amanda to bring her onto the call today so we can learn a little bit more about her journey, how she's come to where she is today, how the network was established, how the awards were established, and also what is the future and what opportunities are there available. So Amanda, it is absolutely wonderful to welcome you today. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me. And, I think we had this in the diary not long ago, but we weren't able to do it. So it's a pleasure to join you today, and, great to be asked to be part of another network in the UK in one of your events. So thank you.
No, thank you. So I think everybody would love to kind of learn a little bit more about you to start with. So I guess what I'll always like to do on these calls is open up with, can you tell us kind of 3 things that we might not necessarily know about you?
Well, you'll all know, obviously, that I'm a co-founder of the Manchester PA Network and the Manchester PA Awards, which we'll touch on later on. You might not know that through the network and through the awards, I am a corporate fundraiser for the Christie, which is a cancer hospital in Manchester. And we've raised over £200,000 for the Christie. Which is, incredible. What else might you not know about me? I can now proudly call myself a marathon runner.
Amazing.
I completed my first marathon in aid of the Christie. And the third thing is I was in a car advert with Gary Barlow. There you go.
Now I remember that very, very well. That was brilliant. I saw that come up, and when it's one of those moments where you look up at, I was literally, pottering about in my kitchen, looking up at the screen, and I thought to myself, oh my God, is that Amanda? was she in it as well?
No, it was my friend Julie.
Okay.
We entered this random thing on ITV to be part of a Take That surprise, and that was it. It was a car.
So are we to take that you're one of the biggest Take That fans, or?
Yeah, I'm not ashamed to say that.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, I'm sure we've got a few more Take That fans that might be listening on the call today. So no, that's brilliant. And I have to say, I mean, raising £200,000 on behalf of the Christie is just absolutely mind-blowing. And to be able to do that and to put all the energy and passion that you've had over so many, many years to be able to do that is really awe-inspiring. So I just think from us all, many, many congratulations on that, because that is absolutely brilliant. How did you feel doing your first marathon?
I'd love to be one of those people that said it was absolutely amazing and I would do it again in a heartbeat. I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed it until I got the worst blister I've ever had in my entire life at mile 21. So I had to hobble the last 5 miles. But you can't stop, you can't give up on these things, and it was all to raise money again for the Christie. So I am actually doing it again next year. That marathon's not going to beat me. I'm going to cross that finish line without a blister. But yeah, afterwards, when you reflect on it, it's amazing. But the minute you cross that finish line, it was like, get me out of here.
How was your kind of mindset up until that point? Were you really kind of determined and focused, or did you find it really difficult and challenging to do the training, beforehand? Because I've got so many friends. I've got a couple of friends who run a marathon and go, "Oh, I've had a run outside today. I'm all right. I can do a marathon." Or ones that really go for it and train every day and run all the time. So
it's part of a bigger challenge for me. So this year, because we haven't been doing that much fundraising as a network for the Christie, I decided to take up my own challenge. So I pledged to do a 10K, a half marathon, a full marathon, an ultra marathon, and then another 10K across the year. So I started training, I think, just before Christmas, and yeah, continue to train to get ready for the ultra in July.
Amazing. Well, many congratulations
Thank
to you.
you.
What an awesome achievement. And yeah, I think, you know, for we, like yourselves, we try to raise as much money as we can throughout the year for two of the local causes that we support. But I was very much like you last year. I thought, you know, what can I do that's going to impact and make a difference? I was trying to find something, and that's where I did the Strictly stuff, and I absolutely loved it. And it's just that sense of like that you've personally done something as well to really give back and support. And so it's fun. Did you obviously have a lot of support rallying around you, and have raised an incredible amount of money? I just think it's just awesome to have that type of achievement. So huge congratulations.
Thank you. And you on your Strictly achievement.
Thanks. So a lot of people, you know, you run the network, and you've run the network now for many years, but you work full time as an executive assistant. So a lot of people might like to know a little bit more about your background and how you started out your career journey. So can you kind of talk us through, you know, what inspired you to become an assistant, and how was your journey to kind of where you are today?
So I never set out to be an assistant. I imagine there are, you know, many people set out doing something and then change to something else. So I actually qualified as a nursery nurse from college, which actually has given me quite a lot of experience with dealing with children. Can be quite similar to dealing with grown-ups sometimes. So I did that for a number of years, and then decided that I was a bit bored and I wanted to do something completely different. So kind of fell into a bit of an admin role in an office. That guy that I worked for kind of saw a little bit of something in me, so got me some PA coaching. And I went from there. I went to work for a little boutique mortgage brokers for a couple of years, where the gentleman I worked for saw me as his assistant, as the person that would make his soup for him and would leave his tin of soup on my desk when he was hungry, or his bin on my desk when it needed emptying. So perhaps not the great experience of all time. From there, I went to took a job as a receptionist in an insolvency practitioners. I'd heard there was an EA role coming up for the senior partners. So I thought, well, if I get my foot in the door, show them, you know, what I can do, then hopefully I'm in with a chance. And I did get that job 3 months later, and I stayed with them for just over 5 years. Really varied role, had some great experiences, and they've probably taught me everything there was to know. I was then headhunted for the role as senior EA to the CFO, CEO, and global HR director of PZ Cussons, which is a FTSE 250 business. Absolutely massive role, massive business, a job that I never thought I'd be able to do. Did do it exceptionally well and stayed there for almost 6 years. Got to travel, went to Nigeria, Singapore, Jakarta, was involved in a lot of the brand stuff with the CEO, went to a lot of really important meetings, traveled all over with them, and was incredibly lucky. And then unfortunately, like a lot of people, when COVID hit, my role was made redundant due to a change in management. And then I, you know, like a lot of people, couldn't do a lot. So made the most of a summer in lockdown, and then found my role where I am today, which is as EA to the managing director of a creative agency called Kameno in Manchester.
Amazing. Well, if you think back to that first role that you had, where, you know, you just said that director came out and left your soup can on your desk. I mean, that is just absolutely awful, isn't it?
Really old-fashioned, isn't it? It's really old school, but it just shows how the role has changed. You know, I went from that role to then, you know, traveling the world with the CEO of the PLC. So, you know, everyone gets that.
Yeah, no, definitely. But what I think is really inspiring is that you didn't let that put you off what you because if that's your first role, you can easily think, oh, hang on a minute, are these the things that I'm supposed to be doing within this role? But you didn't let that put you off at all, and you went out there to find, you know, more exciting things that actually challenged you, and actually things that you were supposed to be doing within that role. So it's really interesting to see. I mean, that the traveling around the world, was that something that you really enjoyed, or was that something that, you know, was that part of your role, or was that something that you kind of had to fight for to do as part of your role?
No, it was always kind of part of the role. I was always aware that there could be overseas travel. There would certainly be travel to London to investor meetings and to meet our various, you know, brands, and spent a lot of time in our beauty office. And then the opportunity arose for me to travel with the board to Nigeria, which was just one of the most incredible experiences. I'll never forget it. Whilst it was nerve-wracking, it was a country I've never been to, very different to obviously anywhere I've ever been before, but I will be so grateful for that opportunity. And going to Jakarta and Singapore as well, it was absolutely amazing. Really enjoyed it.
Were you the person that had to plan that whole trip as well?
Yeah. For about, there were 12 of us on each, all going from various different airports, you know, can't travel on the same plane, various different requirements, hotel room requirements. Yeah. So it was a little bit stressful.
And did everything go okay when you were there? Or?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Fine. Yeah. Fantastic. You always have that doubt though, don't you, that everything's going to go wrong. You're going to have forgotten something, but
well, I think I can imagine sometimes, you know, when you do the travel, if you've done a travel arrangement for a complex travel plan like that, for example, if they're going around the world and they're, you know, you kind of sit there thinking, is my phone going to ring? Am I going to get an email at this time of night? But actually, when you're there and the plane lands and you're thinking, is that person that's supposed to pick us up actually going to turn up? And what's the hotel actually going to be like when we walk through the doors? It's like, you've almost got that constant expectancy, like all the time. Yeah,
all the time. But no, went very well on all occasions, thank goodness.
Yeah. And obviously, like it's sorry to hear about your redundancy. Now, I was made redundant the same. I think we were made redundant
about the same
time, weren't we? And it was, you know, a really difficult and challenging thing to go through. But it's really, you know, this opportunity to work now for a creative agency. I mean, what's that like? I bet that's a different world, isn't it?
It's completely different. I mean, going from a PLC to then just a normal business where there aren't all the rules and policies and procedures, and it was really different. I mean, not having a dress code I found particularly stressful. But yeah, I love it. It's great. And I'm able to get involved in so much more than just being, you know, an EA. Like, I've met some fantastic people. We work on some incredible projects, and it's brilliant to be part of those, not just in the meeting as the assistant, but in the meeting to give my ideas and my thoughts as well, which has been absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I really, really enjoy it.
Amazing. Oh, well, congratulations. And it's fantastic. I follow you a lot on LinkedIn, so it's just great to see all the updates and things that you do and all the exciting projects you've been working on. So thank you. But you know, let's take us back now to 2011. So obviously 2011 came and the Manchester PA network was born. So how did that come about?
It's a bit of a strange one. So the insolvency practitioners that I work for were that kind of industry. There was a lot of networking events for them. They were always off here, there, and everywhere. And I remember just one day having this idea of, could I do a networking event for all the PAs that I deal with on a daily basis? There were so many PAs that I dealt with, and I could probably walk down the street and not recognize any of them. They were like, yeah, brilliant idea, let's do it. We'll pay for it, go and arrange it. So sent the invites out and ended up getting loads of emails from people that weren't invited, asking if they could come. And then one of them was from a colleague of Mel's, who I run the network with, and she'd had the invite. And Mel was trying to do a very similar thing within the co-op, which was where she was at that time. She couldn't come to my event, but we ended up having lunch and chatting about networking and what we were both trying to do. And it literally went from there. We ended up meeting a lady who was trying to set up a network in Manchester, but she wanted to charge for it a yearly fee. And we were sat on this panel and we were discussing it. And at the time, networking for PAs just really wasn't a thing. I think the only network that existed was the Hayes one that Vic Dara set up. And me and Mel kept going to these groups, and we left one day and we said, you know what, we can probably do this ourselves and not charge for it. The role then, I mean, we're talking 11 years ago, so the role wasn't as big and as powerful as it is now. So we went away, talked to a few people, got a venue, sent some invites out, got 50 people in a room, raised some money for the Christie, and did it. And we didn't know what we were doing. Where would it go? Would we do another one? And then it kind of spiraled. And I think within 2 or 3 years, we were just getting PAs emailing all the time, wanting to come to our events, venues wanting to host us. We were on BBC Radio Manchester. We were, in the biggest business desk publication in Manchester, and word spread, and it just grew and grew. And 11 years later, we're still going and still not for profit, which is fantastic.
Yeah, amazing.
That's how it started.
And all of this, obviously, while you're working full time at the same time as well. So, how many events were you doing kind of to start with in the year? Or did that kind of ramp up over time as well?
Yeah, so because we weren't really sure what the network was going to be or how big it was going to be. So if a venue came to us and wanted to do an event, we were like, yeah, all right, yeah, let's do it. And then we realized we ended up doing more and more and more. And we were like, we don't really have time to keep doing this, hosting an event, sending the invites out, coordinating it, liaising with the venue. It was almost becoming a full-time job on top of a full-time job. So we did scale it back a little bit. But then more venues came. So we tried to, get them in the diary. But now we are a little bit more strict in terms of numbers of events and what we can take on, as a team. There are 4 of us that run it. But it is a lot, as you will know from running yours and from your awards. It's a lot. I was
going to ask, how do you kind of balance out kind of like the work between each other? Because it's quite difficult, isn't it, when if you think about when you're organizing any event, or if anyone's kind of that sole person that's organizing it, you kind of take on all that responsibility yourself, don't you? Because you think, okay, because you're doing most of the communications, you're talking to a lot of people, but obviously when there's if there's 4 of you and you're all supporting each other, it's especially when you're doing something like the awards, it's trying to get that balance of all the different job roles and who's doing what and where, etc. So do you find that, do you balance that between each other depending on kind of your busyness and who's got the most on, etc.?
Yeah, and I think we're all quite good and quite honest at putting on the WhatsApp group, I'm off radar today, can't do anything today, I've done X, Y, and Z, or can somebody pick this up? Can someone do this? Can someone do that? So it just kind of works. We've all got our roles for the awards. We all know what we're doing. There are roles that we all need to do, like get sponsorship, get nominations in. But then there's the administration, there's the social media, there's the liaising with sponsors. So we all have our roles and responsibilities.
So when did the Manchester PA Awards then, how did that happen?
So that started in 2015. An award ceremony was always something that myself and Mel had wanted to do, but it was going to be impossible without any funding. With us being not for profit, you can't put on an award ceremony with no money, or so we thought. So we partnered for a couple of years with a recruitment agency who were like the headline sponsor. So we were able to do it. We did it for a couple of years, and then it was time for us to go our separate ways. And again, like with the network, we decided that we could probably do it by ourselves. So we did. We sat in a room Made a few calls to a few companies that we knew and started to get some sponsorship in, and that's where it went. So we launched in 2015. I think we had about 220 people, and at the last awards ceremony we had 720. So it's totally grown arms and legs and then some.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, we were very, very fortunate. I mean, what I loved was, and it was the opportunity to come and see, you know, the Manchester PA Awards. And you put a category in there, which was the External PA Network of the Year. We were very, very gratefully nominated for that award, which meant that we had the opportunity to come to the evening, which was great. And I've got to say, it was absolutely packed to the rafters. I think to the point where there is no other venue, I don't think, in Manchester is there that can actually host the numbers that you had. And you had the amazing Geffin Jones on stage, who I think he joined you the year after, I think, as well. And it was, I think, a lot of people, when we talk about awards, for example, and, you know, we have our ticket prices and we have our expenditure and what we need to buy. I think I would like to comfortably say both of us, in terms of our awards, it's not kind of an award ceremony, you know, where you come and there's millions of awards and it's kind of constantly just award, you know, it's awards, go home, thank you very much. It is an absolute spectacle, and it is just action packed from the moment you pull up from outside the door right through until the very last person leaves the venue at the end of the night. And I think the amount of content and things that you put in there, and all the stuff that you do for the Christie, and all the fundraising that you do throughout the evening, and all the entertainment that you have, is just phenomenal.
Well, we've always been really proud of the awards, and it is so much work, but it's really worth it. Our focus is always on the shortlist and the nominees, and it's their night. You know, they're there, they've been nominated, they deserve to be celebrated. So let's celebrate them and let's give them the best night ever. And we've been so lucky that businesses have bought into the awards and can see the value of it and buy tables and nominate. And this year, you know, we've had some great sponsors come in that we've not had before, and it just works and it's brilliant. But it is hard work, you know, it is hard to get the nominations in, and it is hard to, you know, everyone's so busy, and it's like, can you nominate? Have you bought your ticket? Have you bought your table? But somehow it always comes together. We're just really lucky, and yeah, it's absolutely about them and those people that win as well, that they have the best time too.
Absolutely. I mean, do you get some companies that enter year after year after year after year?
Yeah, and then it's awful when you interview them and you choose whoever and that company hasn't won again, and you're a bit like, oh no, not again.
I know, and I think that's the difficulty, isn't it? Because I think it's all about, like you just said, it's all about the whole experience. It's about making them feel absolutely special and recognised and celebrated from the moment that they get that nomination right through until, you know, the big night itself. And I don't think it's very difficult to describe the atmosphere in the room that is so supportive of everyone. It's like, you know, everyone is rooting for absolutely everybody to do really well.
Everyone's, you know, really happy when, you know, of course there's disappointment, but nobody shows it. Everyone's, you know, really proud of each other, and they're there to celebrate their colleagues and PAs and EAs that they already know. It's brilliant. And one thing I hear a lot, you know, about big award ceremonies, that you only win if you've sponsored, or, you know, you're the headline sponsor, then you're definitely going to win. But that's not the case with ours, and yours is the same, Dan. You know, they're winning on merit. They're winning because they deserve to win, not because their boss has, you know, sponsored the drinks reception or, you know, bought 5 tables. It's purely, it goes on them and, you know, the interview and the reason that they were nominated.
Absolutely. And I think it must be nice for you to see their journey as well, because when we came when we came. So can you talk us through a little bit about what your process is like? Because I'm kind of keen for people, because your nominations are still open, aren't they, at the moment?
They are. So we extended our nominations to the 29th of June. We always do extend by a week or two, but we just felt, because we've had a bit of a gap in terms of awards, and you might know this as well, Dan, that it's just been a little bit more difficult rallying people and reminding people that they need to nominate, which is why we've extended it again. So you can go online and you can nominate in the categories. And one of the categories which is relevant for you, Dan, is the National PA Award, which is open to, you know, places outside of Manchester, which is a first for us. We've never done it before, so that's exciting. So you nominate online. Jane recognises all the nominations, and then we all sit in a room together and read them and review them and discuss them, and then we create a shortlist. That shortlist are then invited to a judging day, which is ourselves, and also some of our key sponsors are allocated a spot on the judging panel. And it's a really nice day. I don't think it's a nerve-wracking process, although some people do find it quite nerve-wracking. And that's where we decide our winners. And then they're all announced at the awards ceremony.
Amazing. I think I remember we walked in. The only reason I know, because I drove to Manchester for our interview, and I remember driving through a bus lane twice, and I got two £75 fines on the way there. But I jumped into the hotel. I can't remember what the hotel was called. And everyone was all sat, and everyone was getting really, nervous, excitement going into their interview. Then everyone was coming out going, "How did it go? What was it like?" And I was sat there watching them, and because I'm not from the area, I didn't know anybody that was there really. And Vic Darrow was was one of the judges,
right?
And it was lovely. That's how I actually met Vic, through the Manchester PA Awards as well. And it was just amazing to see that kind of, all that excitement and the nerves and everything coming out. But that's why I think it adds so much special kind of magic on the night, because that's why everyone's been through the same process, everyone's experienced the same thing, and so they want to be able to celebrate that together, which I think is just amazing. And do you know those people that have gone on, whether they've been nominated or finalists or whether they've won, kind of like the opportunities that have been available for them afterwards as well? I think there's a lot of people that have some fantastic stories that they've shared in the past.
Yeah, there are people that have gone on to, move to different companies. And one of the reasons is that they've won one of the PA awards. I think pay rises, but also I think a level of respect as well. Not everybody in a business sees the PA or the EA as the most important person in that business, but actually they are. And when they come in and they say, "I've been nominated, I've been shortlisted, I've won an award," I think it just demands that little bit more respect, and they're so proud of it as well, and so confident when they've won them.
Yeah, and I think what I've always admired is that you do have those people that enter year after year after year. I think sometimes people feel like, "Oh, if I've entered before, I'm not going to enter again," But totally, like, we've had some people that have not, they might have been a finalist one year and then won the next year, and so much can happen in a year or in so much time. So it's just amazing to see, isn't it? So you've obviously got the National PA Award, which is great. But obviously, I think we're both talking here to a lot of the businesses. If you are based in Birmingham or the West Midlands and you come from a multinational office, and you have got offices that are based in Manchester and the surrounding area, then please have a look at the website and get nominating.
Yeah, definitely.
There's nothing better than when you get that nomination, when you've nominated somebody and they've got that nomination, and they get that email from Jane, and they can see that they've been nominated. That feeling just absolutely lifts somebody's week, doesn't it?
Yeah, and we I can't remember what year it was, but all the shortlisters had come together, and it wasn't a card, but they made this like document, like a thank you document for myself and Mel. And it was all about what the awards meant to them, what the network meant to them, what being shortlisted meant to them. And it was, I mean, I've still got it. It was incredible to read. It really was, it does mean so much to them. So, as you said, Dan, I would encourage anyone, if you can, to make a nomination.
Oh, definitely. No, thank you. Now, I know you took a brief break with COVID, didn't you? So was that for the network and the awards?
So we actually decided that when we'd raised £200,000, which was the end, was it our 10th? No, I think it was our 9th year, that we were going to retire the network. Myself and Mel had been doing it for, almost 10 years. And it just got to that point where we've raised the money. That was the goal. Let's go out on a high. And that's what we did. So the network had gone, but we were still going to do the awards. And then obviously COVID hit, and we were a bit like, should we bring it back? What should we do? And we did a few online events. They weren't overly popular because I think everybody kind of wasn't sure what to do. Did they want to spend an evening on Zoom when they probably spent all day in the office at home on Zoom, because we were in lockdown. But it seemed that there was a desire for the network to come back. And when we floated the idea past a few members, they were like, absolutely, please, 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 please bring it back. So we did. The first event after lockdown got postponed, I think, about 4 times.
Oh, God.
But when we went out and did it, the atmosphere was incredible. Although it wasn't our biggest event, the atmosphere was probably the best that we've ever had. So we've just continued to do events and obviously continue with the awards.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you've spoken about the Christie and that incredible £200,000 that you've raised, and you're not stopping there, I can see. But can you share with us why the Christie is so, has got such a special place for you in your heart?
Yeah, I think a lot of, people all over the UK will have probably heard about the Christie, but the Christie is really big in Manchester, and a lot of our members will know the Christie, will have family treated at the Christie. My first experience of the Christie was with my mum, who had cancer from when she was 14. So I grew up with quite a poorly mum. We spent a lot of time at the Christie, me and her as a family. And she was treated there until she passed away when she was 34. And I was 9, which is, absolutely horrendous and just the most awful thing ever. Something I'll never, ever get over. But when we started the network and we talked about raising money, I just said to Mel, could we do it for the Christie? I'd really like to give something back. And she obviously, said yes. I wouldn't expect anyone else to jump on board with my desire to fundraise for that charity, but she had, I think it was her auntie was treated there as well. And the more people we spoke to, they'd had family members there too. So it just made sense to continue. And when we raised our first £15,000, I was given a leaf on the Tree of Hope with my mum's name on it, which was amazing. And it's still there, you can go and visit it whenever. And then the next one we got for Mel's aunt. Then we got one for Hayley, who we used to run the network with, for her grandma. And then at the last awards, we could get another leaf. So we gave it to one of our network members, who was also doing a serious amount of fundraising for the Christie outside of the network. And it's just continued from there. We've become really close to the charity. We've got our names on the wall. We have the Manchester PA network has a little plaque. It's just something that I'm really passionate about, and all of our members are as well. They've all taken it to their hearts. Absolutely.
And I just think this is why I love doing these types of interviews, because it's all about, especially if you don't really know somebody, and you can see a lot of what people do on social media, but it's really understanding the story and the sentiment and the why understanding people's why and why we do things is so important. And you know, that's it's just an incredible story that you turned into, or tried to turn into such a positive thing to give back to such a valuable service. So I mean, I can't imagine how pleased they are to be having people like you and Mel and the network that are out there really raising money for something that's really important to the local community.
Yeah, it's not just the raising money. I think one thing that they've always said is that they've been introduced to so many businesses, and quite a lot of businesses have chosen the Christie as their charity of the year because the PA or the EA that's been to our events has gone in and said, can we do the Christie? Yeah. So it's gone further than just raising money. You know, it's introducing them to businesses they perhaps might not get to meet without us.
And I think that just goes back to what you were saying as well about, you know, if you think back to those days when you first started out, about the amount of influence now that PAs and EAs have within business, because directors aren't going to be going out there and haven't got time to necessarily search for, you know, local causes or local initiatives that are really important, or how they're going to be conducting their CSR initiatives throughout the year. And a lot of that responsibility falls on your shoulders to be able to kind of look at all these different options and bring those together for them. And I think it's just amazing to see how much influence has come into the role over so many years. When we do a lot of these, a lot of people start their journey out. I started as a receptionist. I think many people started their journey as a receptionist, and you sit there now and you think, oh God, how have I learned all of this in all these years and know all these people? It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. How I think, you know, when you do sit and spend time with people and speak to people, you certainly learn a lot more about them, don't you? And how their career started.
Yeah. Well, we've got our conference coming up next week, and one of the questions that we're going to be putting to the panel of executives is, how do you support your PA or your assistant going out there and representing the business externally? Because I think sometimes people don't realise the opportunities that PAs have of working together with different businesses. And actually there are you know, partnership opportunities for those businesses. And if you're talking about, you know, some of the sponsorship packages that you have this year and how they've engaged with you, it's just understanding the importance of those types of relationships. I mean, have you ever been held back from kind of doing what you do, or have the businesses that you've worked for really understood the value of what you do?
Yeah, I've always been really lucky, and obviously I started the network when I was with the insolvency practitioners, and they saw the value in it and supported it. And then when I went to work for PZ, one of my questions for them was, can I still do my network? Can I still run the network? Can I still run the awards? And they were like, of course, you know, we want to support you however we can. And they did. They were fantastic. And the same with my new role, you know, unfortunately or fortunately, if you take me, you take the network and the awards.
Yeah.
I have to do it, and sometimes that means time during the day where I need to go to a meeting, or, you know, need to finish early to host an event, and I've just been really lucky, and people have supported it because I think they can see the value of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're coming to that organization, you're bringing that knowledge and that network with you. And I think that I've personally struggled with that slightly over years, just because it's almost like, you know, it's trying to get them to understand how valuable, not that is not just to me, but when you've got an established network, and it's like, you want to continue to do it because you want the people that come to get the most value out of what you do. And there's nothing better when you walk into the room and you see everybody, like you said, going back to your first events after lockdown and seeing the buzz in the room and everybody really excited to see each other. It's just fantastic. So what's the date of I'm coming to the awards this year. What's the date again? Is it November?
10th of November, yeah.
10th of November, fantastic, which is going to be a cracking night. Can't wait for that. But I'm keen to know, before we kind of wrap up today, Amanda, what are your kind of dreams for the future? What sort of things do you want to do in the future?
I mean, people, it's a question that you get asked all the time, isn't it? But really, do you really know? What did we know? Did I know when I left school and went to college? Did I know where I was going to end up? No. Do I know where I'll end up today? No. Do I see myself as an EA for much longer? I'm not sure I do. I think I'd like to move into something else, and working in a creative agency is probably going to allow me to do that. So yeah, I'd like to think that the future holds me moving out of the EA role.
And it's interesting again you say that, because we've just been talking about how post-COVID we're seeing so many people now moving into those different roles, or that the company have created a role that really fits the transferable skills that those people have got or have built up in so many years. But I think it's because people don't realise, because you oversee so much of the business, that you learn so much about the business. There's so many different opportunities and roles that are available.
Yeah, and you've just got to think, you've got to be lucky with the business that you work for as well, that they can see that value. You know, I didn't realise that all the experience I've gained over the years was going to help me get a job in a creative agency and let me be involved in more than just, you know, sitting in the meeting and taking the notes and booking the appointments. You just take on so much more than I think people even realise when you do the role as an EA and a PA.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we will be looking firmly to see what you're going to do in the future, Amanda. It's amazing. So if you could kind of leave us today with like 3 nuggets of advice, what sort of things do you think you would share with us?
It might be a bit cliche, but I'd say believe in yourself. When I moved and went for the role at PZ, I didn't think I could do that role. I kind of talked myself out of it. I can't do it. I'm never going to be able to do it. And actually it became one of my most successful roles. To have a bit of, you know, self-belief. Don't be scared to blow your own trumpet and nominate yourself for a Manchester PA Award or a Birmingham PA Forum Award. And just take a chance. You know, did I expect to get made redundant? No, never. I didn't. I thought I'd be there forever. But it's what you do, isn't it? After that, you know, you can sit there and wallow and think the world's against you, or you can go and find what you're meant to do. And that's what I did. So take a chance and, you know, believe in yourself, I'd say.
Amazing. Amanda, thank you so much today, and congratulations on everything you've achieved.
Oh, thank you.
Incredible. You really have, you know, the Manchester PA Awards, and we didn't have anything like this in Birmingham at the time. I don't think we've ever had a PA Awards in Birmingham. Tracy, I'm looking at you here. Have we ever had one in Birmingham before? I don't think we've ever had one in Birmingham. And so to come and see what you do and how it was received and all the hard work and dedication that you have just really inspired us to do that here. So please pass on our hello and regards to all the team. It's been wonderful to spend some time with you today, and we cannot wait to come and see you all in November.
Thank you. Good luck with your awards as well. Like, I'm sure it'll be absolutely amazing.
Amazing. Thank you, lovely. And thanks everyone for joining us.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.